Words cannot describe how gutted I was when Marina ran off with Sinbad at the end of SinbadLegend of the Seven Seas rather than staying in Syracuse with Proteus. It's something I will never get over to this day.
Marina, follow your heart. Mine is here in Syracuse. Yours is sailing with the next tide.
What? No, dude!
Hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
You're a dummy, bitch.
SinbadLegend of the Seven Seas is a movie I loved watching growing up. Even before I could fully appreciate the movie, I just knew it was different from other animated films that were coming out in 2003. As a child, I couldn't put into words why I liked Sinbad as much as I did. Now that I'm older, I certainly can. I can appreciate the diverse characters of the story who possess interesting personalities and appearances. I can appreciate the world constructed for this movie, a world that blends mythology, culture, and history. I love the differing but corresponding themes explored in the movie. These themes of love, loyalty, freedom, and chaos present ideas about the characters that drive the narrative and make for an interesting story. And let's not forget the technical aspects of the movie, which deserve to be acknowledged and appreciated as well. The stylistic choice of blending 2D animation and CGI was a nice creative touch, at least to me. I found it charming, though I can understand why some would find it jarring. But other than that, Sinbad is a very visually stunning movie. The animation is so fluid and smooth, most of the landscapes and backgrounds of the film are so detailed and never dull. There is just so much to love about Sinbad, except for the ending. For those who have never heard of Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas, I would be delighted to tell you all about it. Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas, or just Sinbad, is an animated film from DreamWorks that came out in 2003. It is one of the last 2D animated films from DreamWorks, though it does include some CGI. It was a box office bomb, to put it plainly. This was due to a lack of interest from consumers as well as a lack of advertisement from DreamWorks. This is unfortunate because this film should have performed way better than it did because it was far from mediocre, quite the opposite actually. Fortunately, in recent years, Sinbad has grown a sort of cult following and more people have been appreciating the film over time, and that makes me very happy. So here's a quick rundown of what happens in the movie. We have our main character Sinbad. He's a brash yet charismatic pirate. He and his crew intend to steal a magical artifact called the Book of Peace to use it for a high ransom. This book is a sacred artifact that keeps balance in the Seven Realms, and without it, the realms fall into disarray. At the start of the film, the book is aboard a ship guarded by Syracusean soldiers who are transporting it back to their homeland of Syracuse. The man responsible for leading this transportation is Proteus, the Prince of Syracuse and my beloved. He and Sinbad used to be close friends in childhood, but Proteus had not seen him in years because Sinbad ran away and has now only returned to rob him. Fortunately for Proteus, Sinbad does not steal the book, in part due to a guilty conscience and other forces at play, but unfortunately for Sinbad, the book is stolen and he is framed for the crime. The person, or rather deity, responsible for stealing the book is Eris, the goddess of chaos. She basically lives for drama, and without her, none of what happens in the film would have actually happened. For additional context, Eris had wanted Sinbad to steal the book for her, and initially he had promised to, but he didn't follow through, so she took matters into her own hands. But anyways, Sinbad tries to explain his innocence, but he isn't believed and he is then sentenced to death unless he can return the book. Proteus, ever so lovely Proteus, is the only one to believe Sinbad. He even offers up his life in exchange for Sinbad so that Sinbad can go and get the book from Eris. Sinbad is allowed to leave Syracuse, and at first he intends to just ditch Proteus and let him die. However, a woman named Marina sneaks aboard his ship and forces him to go and get the book. Marina is Proteus's fiancée, and the two were arranged to be married from a very young age. But let's return back to Sinbad and Marina for a moment. The two travel to Tartarus together to retrieve the book. In doing so, Marina and Sinbad both undergo emotional transformations over the course of the journey. Sinbad is confronted with his past and his identity, while Marina has the opportunity to experience adventure and explore her love of the sea. The two also fall in love. Once the book is retrieved, they return just in time to save Proteus, and then the movie ends with Marina leaving Proteus for Sinbad so she can travel the high seas and be free. This is obviously a very brief and rushed summary, but I hope you get the point. If not, go and watch the movie for more context. Gosh, this ending makes me so mad. Don't get me wrong, I love Sinbad. It's one of my favorite films from DreamWorks. It's up there with Chicken Run and The Road to El Dorado. I also don't think Marina not marrying Proteus detracts from the movie. However, I still wish Marina and Proteus had stayed together. I personally believe Proteus was a better romantic partner for Marina because I prefer Proteus to Sinbad. There, I said it. I have always been Team Proteus. I did not get the Sinbad hype at all, I'm sorry. You know what, I'm just gonna come out and say it. This video is pretty much cope. It's pure copium. I am coping and seething over a fictional relationship from an animated film that came out before I was even born. Should I be over this in the big 2025, especially at my age of 20? Yes. Will that stop me from talking about it? Hell no. Also, I just want to rant, to be honest. It also goes without saying that this video is really not that deep. This video is basically a Proteus appreciation video, so here are 3 reasons why I prefer Proteus and why I think he was better suited for Marina. Let's start with reason number 1 that I don't think many people would dispute, and that is Proteus was a good and honest man who respected Marina and genuinely loved her. Warning for incoming glaze, but here we go. Good doesn't even begin to describe Proteus, he's practically a blessing. One of his best qualities, if not the best, is his kindness and humility. He's a man of honor who consistently prioritizes the needs of others over his own. When Sinbad is falsely accused, Proteus is the only one to stick up and believe in him, despite all evidence pointing to Sinbad stealing the book. He even puts his life in danger without hesitation because he has this deep trust and faith in Sinbad, a faith that not many people would have. This is the biggest example of Proteus's kindness, however, I would argue the true measure of his kindness can be witnessed in his relationship with Marina. It is most evident in their last scene together. Earlier I mentioned that Marina and Proteus were arranged to be married from a young age. It was a political marriage meant to benefit their families and respective kingdoms. This meant that they had a lot of time to get to know each other, and it's quite evident they have. Marina and Proteus appear to genuinely enjoy each other's company based on the short interactions we witness. They do seem close and there is a chemistry between them. It's more subtle than the chemistry between Marina and Sinbad, but it is there. Marina and Proteus's relationship seems to be very respectful. It teeters more towards pragma and agape than eros and ludus, though this is not to say their relationship wouldn't have been without passion. What I'm trying to get across is the two understand each other. Their relationship does not feel like a chore. But with that being said, if the pressure of an expected betrothal was looming over your relationship, you would most likely find a way to make it work, or at the very least find a way to tolerate the other person. It must be acknowledged that an arranged marriage can make a relationship less organic. A duty to marry is still a duty regardless of the love that can bloom from it. Proteus even acknowledges this during a moment in the movie.
It's always been expected of us. But politics is not a reason to get married. And I don't want you to do this just because it's your duty. I'm asking you for myself now.
Even though they are betrothed and have probably been engaged for most of their lives, Proteus still proposes to Marina, not because it's expected of him, but because he wants to. Outside of his duty and obligation to his country, he wants to be with Marina. He holds genuine affection and love for her because he's gotten to know her over the years. He sees her not just as his future wife or the ambassador to a nation that's beneficial to his country. To him, she's just Marina. He's grown to love and understand her for who she is, which is why he let her go. When Proteus found out that Marina had fallen for Sinbad during her time away, he didn't get mad, he didn't get upset, and he didn't try to get her to stay out of an obligation or fear of political repercussion. Instead, he understood her and he didn't shame her for her feelings. He gave her support because he didn't want to hold her down. He wanted her to be happy. Not many people can say that they would be that understanding or selfless, especially in a situation with feelings involved, as well as a myriad of other consequences. But Proteus cared for none of this. He loved Marina, and it probably hurt to let her go, but he did it all with a smile on his face.
That's why he's the GOAT!
I feel as if this alone should convince you as to why Proteus was better than Sinbad, but if you're still not convinced, then let's move on to reason number 2. I think this is the most important and probably the most convincing, which is that Proteus was just too fine.
Period.
Anyone who disagrees is about to get blocked. Argue with your mama, not me. How could anyone walk away from Proteus? I mean, look at him. Look at that chin. Look at that ponytail. Look at the height on him. I mean, do you see those shoulders? Look at his eyes. Look at that smolder. You're telling me that that smolder doesn't do anything for you? I don't think you guys get it, because the way he acts just does something to me. As Justin Bieber would say, you're not getting it.
You're not getting it. It's not clocking to you.
Look, Proteus may have been a good boy, but he's not boring. And to be honest, I'm so tired of people saying that he is. Sinbad is the more outgoing one between the two, and he does live the more quote-unquote exciting lifestyle. But Proteus has his own charm, he's fun in his own way, and you know what? Given the way he walks and talks in certain scenes, I just know he has a little something something, if you know what I mean. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, well, tough luck.
Lord have mercy.
Okay, I need to calm down. I'm getting too heated over a fictional character. Moving on swiftly, let's get on to the third and final reason why I prefer Proteus, and that is because he's young and he's rich.
What?
I'm joking about that, well, at least partially, but hear me out. What I mean is that Proteus provides stability. Let me put it this way. You mean to tell me that Marina left Proteus, the fricking Prince of Syracuse who's going to be king one day, for Sinbad, who lives on a ship with a bunch of sweaty dudes? No shade to his crew members, I love them all, they're all lovely, I love Kale, Jin and Lee, and especially Spike, but come on now.
Come on, man.
I can't claim to speak for all women because women have different needs and different wants, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and assume that if you gave women the choice between living on a ship and wandering from place to place, or living in a grand castle and being treated like royalty, I think I know what most women would choose in this situation. Dare I say I'm confident in saying that some men would choose the same option as well. Jokes aside, there is a stability to Proteus's life that offers comfort. For me, the comfort comes in the form of routine and consistency, knowing what the next day will bring or at least being able to guess. Living on land is much more predictable and less stressful than being on the high seas. Even if the promise of riches and royalty were removed and Proteus was just an average guy who worked as a baker, a blacksmith, or even a fisherman, such a life would still be more appealing to me. Staying in one place with a man who was patient, humble, and kind would be fulfilling even as a peasant. By now you've probably guessed that I'm a very boring and vanilla person. As I said before, I love routine and I love structure. I feel as if a life with Proteus would be very stable, and it doesn't hurt that he's hot as well, so I think that's a plus. But at the end of the day, it was Marina's decision who she chose. She deserves to be happy and to be loved by whomever in whatever way she desires. And I'm not here to convince you that Proteus is inherently better if you think otherwise. I'm just saying, I wouldn't have fumbled. You could never catch me leaving a man like Proteus, we are locked in.
You're a dummy, bitch.